Let's do it. Oh, actually, before we do that,
Yes,
did you do your homework, Brian?
I have failed you here
Oh,
live on camera. I have failed you. I've not done my homework yet. I have my assignment sitting on my desk,
all right, that's fine.
but
He
I'm going to see
doesn't.
you live in person and you will have it before that time.
Okay, he doesn't make an appearance again until the next section anyway, so
Okay.
we're gonna be fine.
I noticed he didn't come back, but yeah,
He's about to. He is about to. I cut
right,
it off right before he comes back.
right.
Okay, so we are starting. Just to set things up, why we're going back to page 47 is I rewrote this montage so that it has that visual carryover that we talked about, where there's something happening,
Right.
where people, they do something and it like carries over into the next scene in the montage.
Right.
So, Brian, did you want to read this or do you want to just like jump into the really new stuff?
I think we should probably read this. It's not that long. Plus, it goes right into the new stuff. So I think it kind of makes sense to read it. Although it's mostly me, isn't it? It's all me.
It's all you, Brian.
Why don't I read to you for a while?
Okay,
I'm going to start at in Fort Bliss.
do it.
All right. Interior, Fort Bliss Infirmary. Minutes later. The soldiers from Epitaph carry the body in still wrapped in a blanket and laid on the table. They exit. As they leave, an arm escapes from under the blanket and dangles over the side of the table.
Hang on, Brian, really quickly.
Yeah.
Just don't mean to interrupt here. I know you stumbled on that first in, the body
Twice.
in. I know you excised that last time, but it's important because they're carrying the body. I'm going to show my face here so I can gesticulate. They're carrying the body in to the room. I didn't want it to seem like they're already in the room and they're just like carrying the body. They're coming in through the door with the body.
Right. So when I read it, like mentally, I go to still. He's still
I get it.
not. You know what I mean? Now he's still wrapped. So I'm just going to add a couple hyphens in there for my reading this time. Let's do it again.
No, don't do it again. I just wanted
Carry
to
the
throw
body
that
in.
in there in case you're
'Cause
like,
it's-
can't believe this guy didn't take my edit there. It was just one word, two little letters. Had to keep it in.
Oh no, I understand what you were doing there.
Okay.
I just stumbled again. I think I'm just gonna. It should be the soldiers from Epitaph carry the body in, still wrapped in a blanket, right?
Yes.
And that's not how I was reading it because
It's weird. So does it need a comma there, Brian?
I think it needs a double hyphen actually, like an M dash.
Still, okay. Well, that would eat up like freaking. That's an M dash is like four spaces. I can't afford that.
It's like two.
No, man, you got to have the spaces after the M dash.
You really don't.
And it
You
wouldn't
don't
even
need
be an
spaces
M
before
dash because it's freaking courier, right? It's all mono space.
that. Yeah. So
there's
just do a
no
double
M or
dash.
N.
It's two spaces. Interior, Fort Bliss Infirmary.
Oh, I
Minutes
pulled
later.
up the wrong scene. There we go.
The soldiers from Epitaph carry the body in, still wrapped in a blanket, and lay it on a table. That's right.
They took some time carrying it in.
As they leave, an arm escapes from under the blanket and dangles over the side of the table. Interior, Undertakers, continuous. An arm dangles from a body lying on a table. Mortimer approaches and puts the arm back on the side of the body. It's Bow, still dressed in his bloody clothes. The bodies of the posse lie near him. Mortimer goes to a different table. He dips his rag into his bucket of water that he fetched from the water pump and uses the rag to wipe the blood off a naked body lying on a table. Other naked bodies show they have been recently cleaned. Mortimer takes a step and stubs his toe. He howls in pain. Interior, old shack, continuous. The old man who bought the waters of life from Petrov howls in delight as he dangles the bottle in front of his roommate, another old man. The first old man laughs as he snatches the bottle away and downs it. He lies down on a cot to sleep. The other old man makes a face and goes to his cot to sleep. He turns on his side, grumbling. Then he turns again to lay on his back, clutching his hands to his chest. Interior, modest bedroom, continuous. The homely woman who bought the love potion holds it to her chest, shuts her eyes, and breathes deeply before drinking it. She sets the bottle down next to a small framed portrait on her nightstand and smiles. She blows out a candle. Interior, neat bedroom, continuous. A match is struck and it lights a small lantern, revealing Miss Stapleton in her bedroom. She opens a book and begins reading it in bed. She reaches over to a wooden cup and drinks some water. She frowns at the taste but finishes it. She turns on her side to get better light. Interior, prospector shack, continuous. Bud lies in his cot, trying to sleep. He turns on the side toward a faint green glow in the center of the room. It's the wheelbarrow, full of green crystals. It pulsates in the dark. Bud shudders, coated in sweat. His dog bite bleeds. On the other side of the room in his own cot is Bill, facing away from the crystals. He's also sweating profusely, trying to sleep. He clenches his fist tight and then relaxes them, revealing green glowing specks in his palm. Exterior, 9 lives, veranda, continuous. A courtesan marvels at the green particles glowing in her palm from the passing meteorite. People are still gathered outside in the street, getting coated by the green dust. The courtesan goes inside. Interior, 9 lives, upstairs hallway, continuous. In the dim hallway, the courtesan lights up like she's covered in glitter. A patron sees her and grins. When she looks at him, her eyes flash and lock on him with a predator's gaze. She charges at the man, and he's taken aback for a moment. The courtesan kisses him deeply, and he relaxes as he kisses her back. They run together to a vacant bedroom, passing Rebecca and Stan, who run toward a different room. Interior, 9 lives, Rebecca's room, continuous. Rebecca shuts the door and locks it, then turns around and pushes Stan onto the bed. She climbs on top of him and begins playfully unbuttoning his shirt. He takes her hands and caresses them. She looks at him, concerned.
Rebecca. What's the matter?
Stan is quiet for a long moment, eyes closed. He kisses her fingers and holds her hands to his chest. When he opens his eyes, they're filled with sincerity.
Stan, I think I love you.
He caresses her cheek and pulls her close to kiss her. Exterior, 9 lives, the next morning. Stan comes out looking like a new man. Men who pass by give him knowing smiles. Stan is about to walk off when a voice calls from above.
Rebecca. Yoo-hoo! Sheriff! Don't forget this.
Rebecca, wearing nothing but a bedsheet to hide her modesty, dangles Stan's sheriff's star over the railing. She lets it go, and Stan catches it with chagrin. She blows him a kiss before scurrying inside. Stan begins his day. Interior, undertakers, minutes later. Stan saunters into the shop. Mortimer is asleep with his head down on a desk. He's been busy. Most of the bodies are cleaned and dressed, except Bao. Stan coughs loudly, and Mortimer jumps up.
Stan. Morning, Mortimer. Mortimer. Morning, Sheriff.
He stretches and his back cracks. Stan inspects the bodies.
Stan. You been at it all night? Mortimer. Yes, sir. Least I could do for the families. They want a burial today. Last one to do is the outlaw.
He fishes his coins from his apron pocket and places a couple over the eyes of a corpse, then moves to another one.
Stan, regarding Bao. Yeah, I don't care if you clean him up. No amount of scrubbing will ever get the dirt off.
Mortimer moves to the body of a little girl. Her mouth is open, and Mortimer tries closing it. It opens again. Mortimer shrugs and puts a coin over one of her eyes. Outside riders can be heard approaching, whooping and hollering. The commotion draws Stan's attention, and he hurries past Mortimer, bumping him, and he drops a coin in the little girl's mouth by accident. He sighs and goes to the window. Exterior, undertakers, continuous. Stan looks down the road to see a handful of men on horses dragging something behind them. As they pass townsfolk, they cheer and jeer. Stan runs up to meet the riders. Exterior, jail, continuous.
Stan. Carl, what's all this about? Carl. We got him, Sheriff. We got that Indian bastard been killing our people. We aim to make him pay.
Behind Carl, Stan can see the bandit leader on the ground. His eyes are bound by rope that is held by Carl, who has obviously dragged the bandit leader for some distance.
Stan. What about the rest of his gang? Carl. They didn't make it. I would have killed this one too, but I wanted the town to see that there's still some law in these parts. Let's string them up.
Everett emerges from the jail. Stan gives him a glance.
Stan. Get some wood and nails. We need a hanging post right here.
Men immediately jump into action to construct the makeshift gallows. Everett strides up to Stan.
Everett. That's it? No judge? No jury? Stan. This is a town matter, Marshal. You've got your justice, so do we.
As the gallows is assembled in short order, Stan undoes the rope around the bandit leader's hands, then ties the man's hands behind his back. Stan motions to some men to carry the bandit leader to the gallows. The men do so. Once there, the bandit leader's head is placed in a noose, and men help lift the bandit leader onto the horse. The noose is pulled tight, and the rope is tied to the gallows post. The bandit leader rouses to see the gathering crowd. Oh my God! Among the people are Zeke.
Hang on,
Sally.
Brian. You want to take a sip? Wet your whistle?
I think so. Much better. The bandit leader rouses to see the gathering crowd. Among the people are Zeke, Sally, Chief Redfeather, Rebecca, Ray, and Maggie. Even Long can see what's happening from the little window in his cell. Stan approaches, pistol drawn.
Stan, you got any last words, outlaw?
The bandit leader turns his head to Stan, but it's unclear if he understands. He sees Chief Redfeather motion with his hand, telling him to speak. The bandit leader acknowledges and begins speaking in his native tongue.
Townsfolk number 1. What's he saying? Townsfolk number 2. I don't understand. Townsfolk number 3. Yeah, what's he saying, Sheriff? Stan. Christ almighty. Chief, get over here.
After a moment, Chief Redfeather makes his way forward.
Stan, do you know what he's saying? Chief nods. Good. Translate.
The bandit leader looks at Chief Redfeather for direction. Chief motions to keep speaking.
Chief Redfeather, translating. I am hides in shadow. My tribe are great hunters. We hunt the buffalo. Then we hunt you, the white man. We hunt you because you steal our lands and poison our people with your sickness. And you tempt us with your fire water, but never sharing. Instead, you make us work for you. Clean always.
The bandit leader looks at Chief Redfeather, suspicious of the translation until Chief nods to continue.
Chief Redfeather, translating. Now, the great hunt is over. You have killed my people. Now, I am the last. But I am not alone. When I breathe my last, my ancestors will rise up to avenge me. The spirits of the dead will punish you for what you have done. You will know fear.
The bandit leader falls silent. Stan rolls his eyes and raises his pistol, about to fire in the air.
Father Espinoza. Wait!
He pushes his way through the crowd. Stan sighs.
Stan. What is it, Padre? Father Espinoza. Let me give him his last rites. Stan. I don't think this man is a Christian, Father. Father Espinoza. That does not matter in the eyes of the Lord. Everyone deserves God's love.
Stan waves half-heartedly, and Father Espinoza prays quietly for a few moments. When he finally crosses himself and genuflects, the crowd cheers.
Townsfolk number 2. Get on with it!
The crowd roars in approval. Stan raises his pistol and fires into the air. The horse beneath the bandit leader rides away in fear, but the bandit leader is pulled off by the noose. He dangles helplessly from the gallows, choking and swinging. The crowd watches in macabre amazement as the last bits of life finally leave the bandit leader, and he's just a swinging corpse at the end of a rope. Carl nods in vigorous approval. The crowd disperses.
Maggie. Oh, that was so awful. Ray, have you ever seen anything like that? Ray. Yes, ma'am. Many times. Too many.
He walks off, upset. Maggie lets him go. She sees Everett across the way, look up at the body, then at the ground. He shakes his head. Interior, undertakers, continuous. Mortimer goes back to work. He approaches the body of the small girl and is about to fish out the coin from her mouth when he hears people outside talking and passing.
Townsfolk number 1. You believe any of that hogwash about the diet? Oh, about the... Let's try that again. You believe any of that hogwash about the dead rising? Townsfolk number 3. Of course not. Only Jesus can bring back the dead.
Mortimer looks around at the corpses for any sign of Mortimer looks around at the corpses for any signs of movement. Then he remembers the coin in the mouth. He brings his fingers closer, closer. He leans his face in to look inside. Closer, closer. He darts his fingers inside. He fishes out the coin without any issue and laughs at his own silly fear. He places the coin over the other eye of the little girl and walks away. After a moment, the little girl's mouth snaps shut in a biting motion. Interior, classroom, continuous. Miss Stapleton sits at her desk at the front of the classroom with her head down. The children sitting at their desks all watch her silently with worry on their faces.
Tommy. Miss Stapleton, are you okay?
Miss Stapleton lifts her head. She is pale and sweaty, eyes sunken, ringed by disturbing black circles.
Miss Stapleton. I'm fine, Tommy.
She stands and courageously walks to the chalkboard.
Miss Stapleton. Today, we'll work on penmanship. The first letter is A. She writes. A is for...
She collapses. Students rise in concern, but all they see are Miss Stapleton's legs from behind the desk, convulsing. A small girl approaches to help. Miss Stapleton goes still as the small girl approaches her. Miss Stapleton rises, threateningly.
Miss Stapleton. A is for apple.
She lunges at the small girl, who screams as Miss Stapleton takes her to the floor and begins biting at her face, taking a chunk of cheek. Then again a piece of ear. Then again and again. The other children flee, screaming in terror. Interior, old shack, continuous. The second old man who didn't drink the waters of life rouses from his sleep to the sound of rhythmic thumping. He slowly wakes to look for a source. Standing at the foot of his cot is the first old man, smashing his face into the wall. A bloody smear has already formed at the point of impact. When a new spurt of blood escapes the first old man's face, the second old man can't stifle a gasp. The first old man suddenly stops moving. He slowly turns, revealing his face. It's a mangled mess of broken bone and flattened featured. Then, with unexpected speed and ferocity, the first old man leaps onto the second old man, who cries out. Exterior, jail, continuous. A woman comes running down the street, screaming.
Sorry, I was expecting to hear something.
Nope, I stopped it.
Look at you. Sarah. Help! Help!
Stan is immediately alert and approaches Sarah.
Stan. What's the matter? Sarah. There's a crazed man chasing us. Stan. Us.
Jimmy comes running down the street, yelling. Behind him is Bud, foaming at the mouth and chasing almost on all fours at times. He claws at Jimmy, who just barely escapes reach.
Stan. Marshal, I might need your help.
Everett strides over, and the two men draw pistols. Jimmy runs up, out of breath. He stands with Sarah behind the lawman. Bud stops just short. He looks and acts like a wild animal.
Stan. Easy there, Bud. Just calm down.
Bud's arm is a dark red and black. The bandage has come loose, revealing a festering wound.
Everett. Hell, if he's got rabies, we gotta put him down. Stan. I ain't never seen rabies like this.
Curious onlookers have formed a circle around Bud. He swipes at them, if they're close enough.
Everett. It's your call. It's a town matter.
Stan grimaces and aims his pistol. He shoots a round into Bud's chest through his heart. He falls to the ground, dead. People step forward for a better look at the body.
Stan. Stay back. This man is sick.
Maggie runs up to Everett and grabs his arm.
Maggie. Oh my God, that's awful. I knew him. He worked for me for a bit. Siri? Do I have email? Oh, sorry. It's me. Let's take it back. Take it back before my email disruption. Maggie. Oh my God, That's awful. I knew him. He worked for me a bit. Everett. I'm sorry you had to see that.
Tiny screams interrupt them, and they see school children running toward them from the opposite direction.
Maggie. Tommy?
Children run to their parents that they find, or any place they feel safe. They are out of their minds with terror. Tommy runs to Maggie and grabs her waist with both arms.
Maggie. Tommy, tell me what's wrong.
Tommy can't bring himself to speak. He just sobs. Maggie shakes him, and he finally points. Everyone looks to see Miss Stapleton walking toward them slowly, occasionally biting another chunk out of the small girl in her arms. Miss Stapleton's face is bloody, and chunks of child flesh dot her chin. Everett's face twists in horror. Stan can't believe what he's seeing. The small girl in Miss Stapleton's arms suddenly struggles and moans in pain.
Everett. Good Lord, she's alive. Draws pistol. You put her down this instant.
Stan approaches from a different angle, pistol drawn as well. Miss Stapleton stops, acknowledging them for the first time. She drops the small girl unceremoniously and just stands there. Stan and Everett approach cautiously. Miss Stapleton flicks her eyes on Everett.
Miss Stapleton. B is for boy.
She runs full speed at Everett with her jaw hanging unnaturally wide. Everett is so stunned that he doesn't fire. Miss Stapleton is almost upon him when a shot rings out and she drops on the ground, dead. Stan lowers a smoking gun. Everett comes to his senses and runs to the small girl. He turns her over to see half her face missing as well as parts of her arm and shoulder. Everett's face is a mix of unquenchable rage and unending compassion. The girl stirs.
Small girl. C is for cat.
She claws at Everett's face like a wild animal, oblivious to her wounds. Everett does everything he can to hold her away from him. Suddenly, the girl is pulled away. It's Ray. He holds the girl on the ground, face down, but still thrashing.
Ray. I got you, Marshal. This girl done lost her mind.
Everett stands to collect himself. He sees Stan examining Miss Stapleton. In the distance, Mortimer stumbles backward outside of his shop.
Mortimer. Oh, Sheriff? Sheriff!
He falls in the dirt, but gets up quickly. Following him are the corpses of the posse and Carl's family. They shuffle forward slowly. They moan softly, but it sounds like settled gas pushed out of their bodies by this unexpected movement.
Stan. Everett? What the hell is going on?
Bud's body begins to convulse, causing some townfolk to jump. Miss Stapleton begins to writhe, and Stan steps away. Everett and Stan slowly look up to see the bandit leader hanging from this noose, struggling against his restraints. Exterior undertakers, continuous. As people back away from the newly risen posse and others, the last corpse to emerge is the little girl. She catches Carl's attention. He falls to his knees, tearing up.
Carl. Molly? Oh my God!
Molly begins to move in Carl's direction. Carl opens his arms to her. She opens her mouth when he's close, baring teeth. Interior, Fort Bliss, barracks, continuous. Soldier number 1 rouses his fellow soldier from Epitaph.
Soldier number 1. Come on, get up. We're missing Chow.
The other soldier gets up to get dressed while soldier number 1 steps into the hallway. In one direction, he can see the mess hall and hears the din of breakfast. He glances in the other direction towards the infirmary. He does a double take. In the doorway is the dead Epitaph soldier, now risen.
Soldier number 1. What in blazes? You died.
At the sound of a human voice, the dead soldier stumbles forward, swaying side to side like a ship in a rough sea.